Right. Okay. I will see you in an hour. Now, there are many stories of relatively poor people achieving the great heights of spiritual path. And they have done so by being very dedicated to the devotion of whoever their deity was. The people, being extremely poor, perhaps only offered a few sticks or a bit of rotten food, or maybe some paste that they had, or candle wax that was left within their house. But they offered with such devotion that even this meager offering was accepted as a great offering by the deity they worshipped. Because they were so focused upon it, and they offered with all of their heart, that their intentions were pure, even if the gift was relatively small. So your spiritual progress does not mean that you have to do great things, but it is the nature of your being which will determine your result. So one who is considered spiritual should say what they feel and do what they say. Where one who works from the ego will feel one thing, say another, and do yet another thing. And there is a lack of consistency with them. Their intention is not true. Their true reason for action is held back to be discovered. Maybe it is not known by the egoic person what their true intention is. And they may continue to worship the self, the body, the mind, the material world. But one who is true to their path listens inwards to their feeling, becomes accustomed to what is being felt, can label it truly, and then, because they know it to be the truth and are unscared by the verbalizing of this truth, they will say what they are feeling inside. And this builds great resilience within the being. One feels very connected to oneself. And this resilience is based in truth. But they should look inside to see where this feeling is coming from, to be sure it is not arising from the egoic world, that in fact it is rising from their true sense of self and perhaps the spiritual qualities that they can find there. If one does not, one may become very scared of love and may reject it in favor of something else. But as one becomes more acquainted with love, can understand what it is and perhaps even understand where it comes from, then what is there to fear? The fear must exist solely within the physical world. So by honoring these feelings, a greater sense of self is constantly reinforced. In time, various messages or feelings can develop, and one becomes aware of these very subtle feelings. And they may lead one to life-changing events. But if you don't listen and don't discover or even test these feelings, they are often missed, and therefore, over time, will cease to come into the perception of the individual. Now, it is important to get these two steps right, and in the right order. Not to act and then hope that this is the right way, or hoping that the action will make one feel good. Rather, start with the true connection inside. Now, of course, this will take a little bit of reinforcement, habit, a little bit of exercise for you to do to make sure this is the correct way. And understanding where those true feelings are. But then your life becomes aligned to the sensations and desires of your soul or your spirit or your higher self or your creator, whichever you want to believe in. And life will begin to work far smoother. So imagine that you have been training for a period of time to become, well, let us say, a medium or a healer or a speaker of some kind. And let us say this is now your first or second or maybe your third demonstration or reading with a client. And having trained for some time, one feels a little nervous and apprehensive. There is a questioning about the connection and a questioning whether everything will work right. Is my ability good enough? Will I perform? Will I be effective? Will the client like me? Will they enjoy my work? So fear then, in this situation, would be very natural to start arising. And if one then undertakes that connection with the client, with this feeling of fear within them, then he will have missed the true connection to their higher self, to their spirit, to the essence of another, or to the guidance that must be given to them, and then that onto the people that are listening. But listen to all those words, all that fear that one feels. Is that truly in the spiritual world or is it in the physical world? Of course, it must be related to the mind or body of the individual. So if you were to undertake one of these appointments, if you were to listen inside, you will notice that the fear does not exist in the depth, but at best on the surface. So becoming accustomed to listening to your inner world and reflecting where this message or intention or guidance comes from then not only does your life flow smoother, but your connection through to your clients, to your friends, to your family, your relatives, your partner, of course, all becomes far easier because it is based then in truth. So if you look at yourself, you'll see the fear on the outside, the creation within the mind just below the surface. And looking deeper, your intuition, your very subtle messages, and the love will always be there. And it is that position then that you go to discover what needs to be said or done. And if you go to the depth of your understanding, then your life aligns with intuition, feeling, and action. It is not that people do not receive this feeling or guidance. It is they don't know where to look. And perhaps they expect the message to be very loud when it is more frequently just very gentle. And you see, those who are truly devoted are working in the very gentle work. They are worshipping in their depth and not in their surface. And they praise their deity, request of their higher self, and feel the reward to their connection each time. Not rarely, but each time. One just has to look in the right position, and the guidance is always there for everyone. So when you come to do your readings or healings or talks, be attuned to the right area. It will come with a feeling. Get used to that feeling and say what is felt. And do what then is expected. And life becomes far smoother. So if you think of all the qualities of your ego, all the limitations and fears, all its needs to overthink and to seek rewards or glamour from the physical world and from other people. See the fears, the pains, the obstacles, the need to control, the high expectations. And step beyond that. Ignore it when you're doing your readings and healings and talk. Fear doesn't exist there. Only in your egoic world. Be there for what it is that you require in your life. So in a moment, we are going to come to questions that you may wish to ask. You may ask them yourself, or you may refer to Kripa to ask them for you, whichever way you feel comfortable with. But before then, may I have the healing list of names now, please?
Thank you, Ignatius. Pepto the baby cow, Grandma Clara, Coulter and Rosa, Larry, Susie and Kevin, Jesse, Graham Beck, Charlotte, Darren, Evie and Olivia, Matt and Laura and Molly, Max and Mike, Wendy Beck, Sharon, Bill, Noah, Laura, Lindsay, Kelly, Nicole and Jody, Julie, Dylan, Kelly, Ross, Howard and Chris, Helen, Kathleen and Anne, Carrie Ann, Jeanette, Marissa, Hannah, Matt, and Peta, Chantel, Lucy and Michael Caputo, Vera and Beth, Tan, Cynthia, Adriana, Linda, Stephanie, Claudio, Alex, Ross, Karen, Rob, Abby, Susie, Aiden, Brett, Amanda Kay, Sydney, Brian Stern, Tom Friedman, Wendy Lund, Keiko, Dave, Django, Mitsuki Kai, Jill, Britt, Mason, Stephen, Matthew, Eric, Marianne, Jody, Louise, John, Andy, Don, Danielle, Mirabai, and of course, may all be happy. Thank you.
Thank you for the names. Do we have our first question, Kripa?
Yes, Dave Redknapp, would you like to ask the first question?
Yeah. Hello, Ignatius. It's Dave here. For some reason, I'm feeling quite nervous. I don't know why. I've spoken to you before. I have a general question about guides, not my guides specifically, but guides generally. As I understand it, when we're either conceived or born, a lifetime guide is allocated to us. And as we go through our lives, other guides or spirit entities draw close to us to help us in certain situations, or where we have developed to a certain stage, other guides will come into our aura or into and help us from that stage, and then they might change at a later time, leave our leave our or leave us, and then other guides come forward. Would you say that's fairly accurate?
Thank you, Dave, for your question.
Thank you.
When one is born, one has a certain intention that one wants to experience within life. And these necessarily experiences must occur at certain aspects of life. Some are appropriate to certain ages and not appropriate to others. So at that time, then, there is a greater inclination for those events to occur at the right time. So then intention becomes a guide and a circumstance. So circumstance then starts to be created around the necessary experience that one needs to have. So within that intention then the individual may create what you could inform a casual guide, one who assists with the creation of that event and the circumstances around that event for it to take place. And there can be also, or there is also, one who is more permanently with the individual. It is requested prior to birth. It is given then during the planning of the process of birth, if one has been given the ability to plan. The life is then born, and guide then stays with that individual for the whole period of time. But the others may come and go according to circumstance. Now let us look at a deeper reflection of guide. Now, the truth is the individual and the guide are the same thing. The individual called Dave, for example, chooses the certain life and then creates the circumstances for that life, and due to the complexity of the play, will then appropriate certain people or certain situations to come into the life at a later date. So if one looks at this on a certain level, one will see that there are guides, either permanent or casual, which will come into the life. If one looks on a deeper level, one will see that the individual and the guide are the same thing. The difference, though, is the guide has a different outlook on life. So the individual will only see maybe a matter of hours or days or weeks or maybe months ahead. But the guide will see far further than that because they are not caught within the physical body. So often people would say, is my guide my higher self? And in part, that is true. The higher self looks over the whole life, knows that, for example, marriage must take place within a certain period of time, and then coordinates events for it to occur. See, the physical being, the physical individual, cannot do any work or very little work to plan their future. Because one, in essence, is just the observer of the life being lived. So karma also has an effect. For example, if one is deciding marriage must take place and it must be this type of marriage, or karma may have an effect on the life to alter it very slightly to what is planned. Often, if the circumstance is so important, let us take marriage again. That marriage will take place, but karma will come into the life and make that marriage potentially one extreme or another. One will face those circumstances. So certain events are planned, the necessary events. The life then lives the way that it must be lived and is influenced by other forces. But to step away from that is the important part. And that has been detailed in other talks at other times. So the truth is, the guide is no other than the self. And the casual guides are also the self. And the life then is lived according to that guidance. Guides not being caught within body see a far bigger perspective and will organize events. If you want to go even deeper still, then other conversations need to take place between you and I. But in essence, deeper still means that one is willing to watch all of play and how one connects to their spiritual qualities influences not just the play, but the event. So there are many factors which can alter the way the life looks. But what is destined will take place. The result of that destined event, as I said, is influenced by many other things. So guide and self, soul and spirit, are in essence all the same thing. Just your viewpoint is different. Is that sufficiently clear for you, Dave?
Amazing and very, very illuminating. Thank you.
Again, there is much more within that one could talk about, but thank you for asking.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Pippa, another question is there?
The next question is from Jaina.
Hello, Ignatius.
Yes, hi.
Hi. So, wondering about when I have the experience of emotions that are not so preferable, like say sadness and anger, as you have instructed about stop, love, and observe, finding that place where of love, and so in feeling more of the stillness. Um, could you talk a little about if it's also important to do the same when we're feeling more of the preferable emotions than if I'm overly happy or I feel like things are, of course, I want things to go well, but isn't it, would it be prudent to still utilize stop, love, and observe? Um, because as far as I understand, it's sort of that place of neutrality to not attach to either would be important. Maybe if you could illuminate that a little bit.
Now, the emotion that you are talking about, we give two examples, sadness being the one that you mentioned, and maybe, think of positive emotion, maybe joy, but a humanistic joy. Now, these are transient emotions, whether they are positive or whether they are negative. At least that's what they appear to be. Now, if one connects first to their true self, and in part, this has been illuminated in the first part of my talk. So you listen to the inside, connect to your inside first, what is truly your permanent spiritual quality. And here, then the stop, love, and observe becomes important because these are the three essences of the self. So you connect then to, let us say, love, and you find the purity of love. And holding love in your heart, you can watch the transient emotions drift by, whether they are positive or negative. If you look, and if you want to look deeper into both of those emotions, you'll still find their essence is based in love, but you don't want to hold on to them. You can let them pass by you. There is sadness arising and sadness passing. And if you can just watch it without attachment to it, then you'll see that it'll pass by all the quicker. When there is love in your being, that sadness not only passes quicker, it'll also dissipate so that it is then seen as it is truth, either does not exist entirely or its essence is based in love. So any of the negative emotions in your terminology, if you look at them sufficiently unattached from a distance, you'll see that their essence is emptiness with an underlying feeling of love. So all emotion, positive and negative, will have its essence in love. If you want to analyze each of those feelings. So let us say that you are doing a certain chore around the house or garden, and this feeling of sadness comes to you. Have a moment and stop. Acknowledge what is being felt rather than trying to suppress it. Say, there is sadness. There is love also. Let me hold love. And then you have a choice to observe deeper or look deeper into the sadness, or to let it just drift by. If it drifts by, it may come again. And sadness will arrive on the next day or some other time. Much of the negative emotions are based on false perceptions. One believes this should not happen or should not have happened. But if one looks into even those events, their love is still at the very basis of them. So there is no requirement for one to hold either of these emotions. Now, I picked joy as the positive one, and I did say it is the humanistic element of joy, as opposed to the spiritual essence or spiritual quality which could be called joy. The way to tell the difference is whether there is another emotion or a component part of these transient feelings. Is it made up of something else? And if it is made up of something else or derived from some other event, then it is not a pure spiritual quality. If it is uncreated, it is unconditioned, it is expansive, it is then considered to be permanent and the quality of the non-physical spiritual self. To look deeper into what arises, you may want to play with this love a little bit, knowing it will not hurt you. That is if you want to go deeper into it and resolve it so it does not occur again. If it's too painful at the moment, see it, label it if you want, and let it glide by. You see, sadness, using that as the example again, cannot be based in spiritual truth. It must be based in the physical world and the attachment of mind and ego in particular to whatever occurred in the physical world. If that is true, it cannot exist in my world. But for us to experience it, we must connect through an individual, a body, the senses, the nervous system, etc. And then we know what it is, but at the same time know that it is not us, it is part of the play. Is that satisfactory, Jaina?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for that help. Thank you.
Kripa, is there another question?
Do we have any other questions out there, guys? Ignatius, I'm not seeing any, but I would ask a question if no one else had one.
Yes, please do.
As you know, I have had some experiences with losing time as of late. And then on top of that, there's been a few occasions where I also have not even remembered things about myself. Like, for example, I left the house for kirtan practice without my violin. I brought my harmonium, but I forgot my violin, and I didn't even remember that I played the violin, even though that's been my entire life as a violinist. Um, and so I assume that this is part of just letting go of those things that identify us, but I just wanted to ask you about it.
So is your question about why this is occurring, or is this a problem, or what you should do about it? What is the question?
I guess why this is occurring, is it okay? And I guess if there's anything else, any other wisdom you have to share, of course, Ignatius.
Now, for some people, events like this do occur, and it can be for them about a lack of mindfulness. So their attention is not on here and now, but is focused upon an event yet to happen. So one is rushing to a certain meeting or appointment and forgets about the present moment. One may also consider what is to occur later, but then forget about a person that they are with. And their focus may be on the meeting, the outcome of that meeting, how that's to go, and forget about their friend or their partner or their animal. So one should be aware in the present moment, and one's attention needs to be here rather than later. When one is in the present moment, one can gently pick up a plate, for example, and gently put a plate onto the counter. If one is concentrating on another thing, then that plate may be put on the counter a little harder or dropped there. Or maybe one may not even put the plate onto the counter at all and drop it, because one's attention is not in the present, but is in the future or what is to occur next or another job. So this then does reflect how people think they can multitask, but what they are doing is jumping attention between one thing and then another, and may never do each thing to its fullness. So one then perhaps seeking to sit in a comfortable chair may not fully boil the kettle to make a hot drink because of their impatience to get to the chair. So they miss that moment. So as you are undertaking your job, be sure that you are in the present moment with all that you are doing. And the way to be sure is to be focused, to be here and now, to be centered with an open attention rather than a captured attention about a future event or somewhere that someone wants to or desires themselves to be. So your first part of your observation of self needs to be, where is my attention? Am I here in the present moment, or am I focusing on something else? When you are focused in the present moment, observe also your feeling and feel where you are. Your senses being very present moment means you cannot be in the future and feeling the touch of an apple or an orange, or the coldness of a certain piece of stone or something. So be aware of your focus, be aware of your attention and your senses, and be fully in the present moment. When one undertakes spiritual work, it is then very possible that one's full focus of self has drifted away so much into other states, the natural state of no self, then one can lose awareness to the individuality. In that state of non-individuality, now we have unity. And in unity, one feels like there is no self, there is no time, there is no remembering. And if one exists there, then whole chunks of one's day may totally be missed. So you must make a decision. Am I here to be the spiritual essence, or am I here because of what I need to experience right now? And that may be the connection of a partner or a friend or a child. Be fully with that experience. Let your attention be there with them. And then have your times, which need to be dedicated at 6 p.m. of an evening, if you like. One then surrenders everything for that moment of time. So there was a story I said some time ago of a rabbi. And the rabbi was very experienced and knew the stages of his spiritual unfoldment. And he realized that if he was to carry on this prayer, then the Almighty would present itself right in front of him. But if he did that, then the man in the front seat, the front row, would pass from this world. So he stopped his sermon and was there for the man in the front row, the first seat. So where is your intention? Where is your attention? And where then is your action? So the true answer to your question is observe. Watch your day, watch your life, watch where your attention is or is not. Be focused truly from that purity and let that purity into your world if that is your intention. So the act of observation will show you not just your progress, but also show where you have become unmindful, if that is correct, become unconnected, if that is correct, or truly connected at the sacrifice of the physical world, if that is correct. So you must observe, you must watch, and you must see what is truly within your heart of desire. Now, I give this answer in this way so that others also may benefit from the understanding of perhaps the lack of mindfulness, lack of presence, how one can be truly with, out of love for another, the other. You and I could talk far deeper about it. But your first job is to observe and to watch. And this will help determine where you are and when. Do you understand, Kripa?
I do. Thank you so much. That was wonderful.
Well, perhaps one final chance before we close for the day. Is there another question, Kripa?
I'm not seeing anyone else at this time, Ignatius.
Right. Then our time is concluded for today. May God bless you. Okay.